I have been mystified by how the town has engaged in adversarial conduct with you and with Chris. The fix would have been really easy. Just comply with the Public Records Act. Let you guys do what you want to do to your houses within reason. So I'm mystified by that. It does strike me as a complete overreaction to what you and Chris both have done as far as making requests. I mean, I mentioned before earlier today and in our previous deposition a few weeks ago, I'm contacted pretty frequently by agencies around Florida, and one of the questions that I get asked is, how do we avoid open government litigation and just civil rights litigation generally? And the advice that I give to law enforcement, who are the primary people that I speak to about this, is don't engage. If you, as an activist, and I work with a lot of activists, they're looking for an overreaction. That's what makes activism possible. If there's not an overreaction by the establishment, then there's no story, there's no theater, and there's no coverage, which means that it's a non-event. When an activist goes out, for example, starts videotaping a police traffic stop, if the police officers just do their job, don't misbehave, and don't engage with the videographers, the activists lose interest, they get bored, and they move on to something else. I think that same rationale would have applied to you and to Chris. I think if they had responded to all of your public records requests the way they were supposed to, not jerked you around, not jerked Chris around, not overreacted, I think you all, given your dispositions, I think you still would have tried to find pressure points, but that wouldn't have been it. It would have gone away. If you make a request and they give you what you want, there's no litigation, there's no event. That does not seem to have been the approach that they took to this, and I think that was unfortunate for them. I think it's been enormously expensive for everyone involved. And I think that a lot of the costs that the town has had to undergo is self-inflicted. The cheapest way to avoid open government litigation, which apparently was at the heart of the RICO action, is simply to comply with the law. I think that I'm mystified by how this whole thing has played out. It amazes me that it's still ongoing, and I'm baffled, sort of amazed at the amounts of money that have been spent, much of which out of the public treasury. The fix would have been really easy, and it would have been really cheap. But for whatever reason, they opted to do something else. But I see this all the time. It's not unique to Gulfstream. They're not the only ones that do it. But, OPM, other people's money, right?
Yeah.
I see agencies do enormously stupid things, and I think Gulfstream was foolish in their approach. And as I say, had somebody, not that they had any obligation to, but if somebody called me up and said, "Hey, we want Marty and Chris to leave us alone. What do you think, Joel?" I think I would have given them very different counsel than what it appears they've done. I think your response was, and I don't mean this in any way as a negative towards you or a slight, I think it was enormously predictable.
What response would that be?
I think that based on my interactions with you, most of which have been exceedingly pleasant, and up until our falling out when I left, I thought that even though we weren't always in agreement on things, I felt that our interactions were always very civil and very gracious. But my sense of you is that you're a person that if you're backed into the corner, you're going to expend whatever resources you have to defend yourself and people that you are concerned about. And I think that was an enormously predictable response.